Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Then SDA is the password.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll set you down the seat, Lynn. You got your spot.
She's safe. She's not going to fall.
Yeah, she's safe. You're in a good spot there. I'm excited about being here.
Glad you're here. And I mentioned last week, I forgot your name.
Gino.
Gino.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, it's Eugenio, but I go by Gino.
Okay.
And if you really know me real well, you call me Eugene.
Oh, my brother's middle name. Well, the countdown clock says 10:05, so we probably should start. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, it is good to be in your house today, to worship you and to study. Please be with us as we open your word, that we can understand what we're reading and that we will see you more clearly in our study. In your name, amen. It says up on the board, Restless and Rebellious is our title. Fun lesson. The memory verse for that is found in 1 Corinthians. So let's turn in our Bibles to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 11. 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 11. If one or two people read that, let's read it from a couple of different versions and see what it says. Anybody got that yet?
1 Corinthians 10, 11.
1 Corinthians 10, 11.
Now, all these things happen to them as examples. They are written for our admonition from the end of the age.
Okay. Anybody else have a different version? You said that was New King James?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is New American Standard.
Okay.
Says, now these things happen to them as an example, and they were written for our instruction, on whom the ends of the ages have come.
Okay.
Mine's a little different. Mine says these things happen to them as examples and were written down as warnings for us, and on whom the fulfillment of the ages has come.
Okay. So what's the main thought that we've got going here in this verse?
It's a warning.
It's a warning. What else is
About
it?
things that come.
For those who live at the end of the age.
Okay. So who's that?
That's another thing.
Okay. Who is living at the end of the age?
We are.
That's us. So this was not necessarily written to Israel. This is written to us. And it's to be what? It's a warning. What else?
On fulfillment of things to come.
On things to come? Or past things? It was written for what purpose? What does it say there?
Our instruction.
For instructions, for warnings. Whose mistakes?
He said, all warning marks of things are in our history written down so that we repeat their mistakes. Our positions in the story are parallel. They at the beginning, he at the end, and we're just capable of messing it up.
Sounds like the Message Bible. It has everything in there. Okay. So this is an example. We're supposed to look at the examples that were written down. The examples of what?
Events that happen.
Events that happen. Okay. And it's for us. Question that we're going to ask more than once this morning is, what does that tell us about God? What does this verse tell us about God?
He likes to warn people of things and not be
Surprise! Yeah. He likes to let us know what, not only for prophecy, he wants to tell us what's going to happen, but it says these are examples to warn us not to do these things.
Try to protect us.
Try to protect us. So God is looking out for us. And let's go back and look at some examples so we know what we're supposed to look out for. Turn to Numbers chapter 11. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and then Deuteronomy. Numbers chapter 11. And we're going to go through most of the chapter this morning. So somebody like to read the first 3 verses for us?
Soon the people began to complain about their hardship, and the Lord heard everything they said. Then the Lord's anger blazed against them, and he sent a fire to rage among them, and he destroyed some of the people in the outskirts of the camp. Then the people screamed to Moses for help, and when he prayed to the Lord, the fire stopped. After that, the area was known as Taberah, which means the place of burning, because fire from the Lord burned among them.
Okay. So what do you hear in these 3 verses? What's taking place?
Millennials. Oh, sorry.
She said it made God mad.
What do you think about that? They complained and God started burning people up. What's going on?
It's like, I've given you everything and you're still complaining. Give everything you need, but you still complain.
Why would God react that way?
The protection. Straighten them out. Teach them a lesson.
Okay. In Jude, verse 7, it tells us that Sodom and Gomorrah were an example of judgment to come. What happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? They were burned. So we've got Israel out in the desert, hot enough, and God starts a fire there and starts burning people up as an example to those that are around them. Hey, don't complain. Sounds a little bit harsh, doesn't it?
We consider a little bit of leavening goes a long way. It will eventually go through the whole batch of dough.
Yeah.
That God was responding in the same fashion that they're complaining against him. Ultimately, it would eventually affect everybody in the camp, and they would all go against God. His whole purpose was not to abandon them, but that he had saved them. It's like, you think it was great back in Egypt, but I delivered you out of bondage. I delivered you out of slavery. I'm taking you to the promised land.
Okay.
Why are you complaining about what I'm doing for you? You're not seeing the blessings I'm giving you, the deliverances I'm giving you.
Yeah. Let's look at the next 3 verses. See what more we can learn about the story. Who's got verses 4, 5, and 6 for us, and what version are you reading from?
Where are we at again?
We're in Numbers chapter 11.
The New International.
Okay, that'll work.
The rabbi began to crave for other foods. And again, the Israelites started wailing and said, if only we had meat to eat. Remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost. Also the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now we've lost our appetite and now we see anything but this manna. Now we never see anything but this manna.
But man, that's it. That's all we get to eat. Manna, 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 manna. Okay. So what's happening and who is complaining?
At first, it was just the foreign people among the foreign rabble.
Okay. Who's
Other versions call them foreign.
you calling them the mixed multitude?
Yeah. But then the Israelites also crave the good things.
Okay. And they remembered, the fish that were free. How much did they pay for manna?
Yeah.
There is one commentary that I was looking at said that One way, other than the fact that it says the rabble, or some versions actually says the mixed multitude, do we know that it's this group that started it? Is because the Israelites were slaves. They didn't have great food to eat. They didn't have the big selection. And the people that lived in Egypt did. And they remembered all this good stuff that they had here. But what didn't they seem to remember?
Slavery, but they were slaves.
We liked it back in Egypt. No, you didn't. But that just kind of,
That's all they knew though at that time.
yeah,
That tells you we're the same way.
we block out what we don't want to remember.
We don't remember anything good. You look at the bad.
Yeah. So when you read these 3 verses, what are the people really complaining about?
Their own desires.
Who's going to give us meat? We remember this, we remember that. But there's nothing here but manna. What are they really complaining about? Are they really complaining about the manna? I'm going
They
to,
lost their appetite.
let me read.
They lost their appetite to God.
Yeah. Verse 6. But now our appetite is gone. There's nothing to look at but manna. Verse 20 that we haven't gotten to yet. The whole month until it comes out of your nostrils, because it becomes loathsome, because you have rejected the Lord. They have rejected the Lord. They don't want to be here. How many times have we heard already in this story? Not this morning. They complain, we want to go back to Egypt. Do they really want to go back and be slaves? They just don't want to be here. They don't want to be led out into the wilderness. I like verses 7, 8, and 9. Talks about what manna is and what they do with it. Somebody want to read that for us? Okay.
Now the manna was like a coriander seed, and its appearance was that of, I can't read that word.
Bdellium or something like that.
The people would go about and gather and grind it between 2 millstones, or beat it in the mortar and boil it in the pot and make cakes with it. And its taste was at the taste of cakes baked with oil. When the dew fell on the camp at night, the manna would fall with it.
Okay. Like cakes with oil, kind of like pancakes, sounds like. No syrup, but yeah, okay. Or ice cream and strawberries. They've been eating this stuff for over 2 years. 2 years, 2 months, and about 25 days, to be exact. Would you get tired of eating the same thing for that long?
It says pastry. in my Bible.
Let's go to Salt Bank. Yeah. They could do different things with it, like it said,
Imagine on a British baking show, what they could do with that.
And it's probably gluten-free. Yeah, good stuff. Let's continue the story. Let's look at verses 10 through 15. We've got something else taking place here. Who wants to read about Moses?
What numbers again?
Verses 10 through 15.
11, 10 through 15.
Yep.
Then Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, everyone at the door of his tent, and the anger of the Lord was greatly aroused. Moses also was displeased. So Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you afflicted your servant, and why have I not found favor in your sight, that you have laid the burden of all these people on me? Did I conceive all these people? Did I beget them? That you should say to me, carry them in your bosom as a guardian carries a nursing child to the land which you swore to their fathers.
I'll be down to 15.
Oh, 15. Where am I to get meat to give to all these people? For they weep all over me, saying, give us meat that we may eat. I am not able to bear all these people alone because the burden is too heavy for me. If you treat me like this, please kill me here and now, for I have found favor in your sight, and do not let me see my wretchedness.
Okay. Moses is complaining. What is he? He's overwhelmed. Okay. Would you be, if you were leading how many ever people there are out there? Yeah, minimum. We're looking at 1 million people minimum, probably closer to 2. And they're complaining. And I'm in charge. I'd complain too. No. But what is he blaming the Lord on for?
Put the burden on them.
Put the burden on him. Yeah, you know, you ever had anybody say, I'd like you to do this, this, and this for me? You just kind of look back at him and say, no, just kill me now. No, I don't want to do this. This is basically what he's saying. This is too much for me. Just kill me. No, I can't handle this unless I have found favor in your sight. What's behind his complaint? What happened? Why would Moses, of all people, complain like this to God?
He's human.
Okay, I can't argue with that one. He's human.
He's getting too many complaints all at once. Everybody's complaining all to him.
So up till now, he'd heard some complaints, and he could handle that. But everybody's doing it all at once. So he's overwhelmed.
And he doesn't know how to possibly answer their cries with meat.
Yeah. So what did he tell God about these people?
That God beget them, not him.
They are not my relatives.
Right. They're your responsibility, not mine.
So by saying that, should he have caught himself? Who led them out into the desert? Moses was at the beginning of the line, yeah, but God led them out there. God had gotten them across the Red Sea. God had provided food. God had provided water. And now he's complaining,
He was in his own strength. He was,
Yeah.
not realizing God was providing. He had a lapse in faith.
So the complaints that the people had, did that seem to affect him?
Yes.
Murmuring.
The murmuring. He started questioning God, doesn't he? Just like the people had done. So why did God start the fire in the outer edge of the camp? Number one, he started it out there because that's where the mixed multitude lived, was in the outer skirts of the camp. But to keep it from spreading, like Calvin was saying, we got to nip this before it gets too big. And it hit Moses. Well, God didn't take Moses up on his plea to go ahead and kill me. What did God do according to verses 16 and 17? Who wants to read that for me?
Again, I gotta practice reading. It's good for me to read out loud. I
Not a
usually
problem.
read.
We'll let you.
The Lord said to Moses, bring me 70 of the Israel elders who are known to you as elders, as leaders and officials among the people. Have them come to the tent meeting of meetings, that they stand there with you, and I will come down and speak to you there, and I will take the spirit that is on you and put the spirit on them.
Okay. So what is God going to do with these 70 elders?
The whole story going on.
The Holy Spirit. Where is he going to, a bad way to put it, where's he going to get the Spirit? What does it say in verse 17 about the Spirit?
I will take the spirit that I have that is on you and put the spirit in them.
Why is God going to take some of the Spirit that he gave to Moses and put it on these elders? Why didn't he just give them spirit of their own?
Well, the elders can share in Moses' responsibilities.
That's the underlying thought there, but why isn't God going to give them a new spirit? Why is God going to borrow some of the spirit that Moses already has? What's going on there? That sounds a little odd.
Well,
Maybe they could feel it then.
remember when Elijah and Elisha were walking together, and Elisha asked Elijah that he would give him some of the Spirit, double portion.
Twice.
And he did. So maybe it's not that uncommon.
Okay.
It says it right here, that you will take the spirit from him and put it upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you will not bear all of it. Above.
So, thank you.
Yeah, I stopped short of mine. It says they will help you carry the burdens of the people of the people so that you will not have to carry it alone. Yeah.
God had given a generous spirit to Moses. And so if you think about it in a logistic point of view, that God had given him enough spirit to handle everything. But if I'm going to have these guys carry your burden for this, the spirit that I have given you is enough for that. So let's take this and give it to them. It's an interesting thought, but
So Moses didn't lose any of his spirit.
correct. Didn't need all of it.
We're thinking specifically about.
What it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out your question.
Good luck.
A little bit off track for you, Ken, but interesting things that sort of stand out to me. He's asking, where am I going to get meat to feed all these people? And two thoughts that have come to me. One on that one was, that's also the same as the disciples. He's like, when Jesus has the disciples and he says, oh, we need to feed these people. They're like, well, where are we going to get enough food to feed all these people? It's sort of their same response as Moses and them in those two situations of feeding. It's like, you're with the Creator. I already know what it is. I'm testing you to see if you will respond accordingly. I also find it interesting if you move down farther. He's like, why am I alone? I'm the only one carrying this burden. It's the same thing as Elijah after he ran from, he's run out into the desert. He says, I'm the only one left. And God says, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
I've got all these other people, and I've got a plan, and I want you now to go back, and I want you to know like this person, they're going to succeed you, and it's like, I've got the plan, and I'm taking care of it.
You're putting your trust in yourself. And that's what keeps happening. That's the story that we keep reading throughout the Bible. That's there for our example, as we read at the beginning, to learn, to be warned of, to know what's going on. So now let's get into the fun part of the story here. 18 through 20, Numbers 11, 18 through 20.
Excuse me, what day are you guys on?
We are just kind of walking through Numbers 11 right now. So we're basically on, I think that's Monday. An exaggerated view of Monday.
Basically Sunday.
Okay, Sunday. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, you are. That's your job.
You want 18 through 20?
Numbers 11, 18 through 20.
Then you shall say to the people, consecrate yourself for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have wept in the hearing of the Lord, and saying, who will give us meat to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore, the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat not 1 day, not 2 days, not 5 days, not 10 days, not 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you have despised the Lord who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why did we ever come out of Egypt?
Who says God doesn't have a sense of humor?
Yeah. It's called serpentine. I just learned that word this morning. Excess. Having something in excess that it's coming out of your ears.
Yeah, this isn't great right out to the ears, just came out their nose. No. Why was God being so generous with giving them what they wanted? A month's worth of meat. That's a lot for 2 million people. Month-long barbecue. Yeah, set it out in the sand, watch it.
Well, prove that he is God and he is their provider.
Okay.
And be careful what he asks. Right, be careful.
Be careful what you ask for. Yeah. You want it? Okay, here you go.
That's the way he is. He asks for something and he goes over and above.
But why the excess? I mean, you know that it's excess when he says, it's going to come out your nose and it's going to be loathsome for you. This is
about 2 kilos high, right? I mean, you're everywhere, something like that.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second, because that's the fun part of the story. But he's giving them more than they want. Why does God feel rejected?
They were always complaining.
They were always complaining.
You don't trust him.
You don't trust him.
I think another aspect to consider here is God designed and created them. He knew what was going to be best for them, and he was giving that to them in the manner. But there were things of the earth or things of the world that were more appealing to them. That's why in Egypt is sort of, we can equate it to us today. Is God giving us what is best for us, but we're looking at the world around us and saying, oh, they have this, they have that. Oh, we wish we had all of that. And God's saying, okay, it's not going to bring you happiness. It's not going to bring you ultimate satisfaction. But if that's really what you want, I'll allow you to have it. You're going to find in the end, I'm going to just, you think you want this, I'm going to give you so much of that by the time you're done, hopefully it's going to make you so sick of it that you're going to realize that really what I was giving you to start was what you needed and what was a blessing to you.
You want sugar frosted flakes?
Yeah. Almost going to the nth degree to say, okay, you want that, I'll give it to you. Yeah. But you're going to find out that it's really not what's going to bring you happiness. It's really not going to bring you satisfaction. Yeah. You're going to be so sick of it.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to share something that kind of reminded me. The whole purpose of this is, as we know that, well, let me read this in the history. It's John 6:32 through 35. It says, Jesus then said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, it is not Moses who gives you the bread out of heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread out of heaven. For the bread of God is that which comes down out of heaven, gives life to the world. Then they said to him, Lord, always give us this bread. Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst. So that kind of little incident when we look a little deeper, they were so tired of the manna of Jesus in a way that they were like, they wanted the worldly thing. And, I think he was a little passive aggressive there. So like, oh, you want to eat meat? Go ahead.
Yeah.
And so they had enough to where I guess maybe, we don't know, but maybe at a certain point after that, they probably appreciated the manna.
Yeah. You think it was good back in Egypt? This is what you remember. Yeah. Here you go. We're going to give you more than you need. You kind of answered this, another question, so I'm going to drop that for right now. Let's look at verses 21 through 25 of Numbers 11. Moses' reaction to God's meat solution. Numbers.
Moses said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 on foot. Yet you have said I will give them more than they may eat for a whole month. Should flocks and herds be slaughtered for them, be sufficient for them? Or should all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, be sufficient for them? The Lord said to Moses, is the Lord's power limited? And you shall see whether my word will come true for you or not.
Okay. What is God saying in these verses here? And Moses, Moses has questioned him.
The Lord's in control and he's going to provide,
Yeah.
do what he said he was going to do.
What does Moses seem to be saying here? What's Moses' thought process?
There aren't enough resources for us to go get the kind of promise you're making for them. I can't go out and get all those fish and all those things to feed them. What are you thinking?
And then they're in the desert.
And they're in the desert, yeah.
They can get all this meat.
So,
They keep forgetting that he gets finished. They keep forgetting that God actually did all the miracles. Yet not that far before.
yeah, well, every day. I mean, when you figure how many people were out there, yeah. Yeah, this is Moses talking here. And he's saying, God, where am I going to get all this stuff? He's all of a sudden just got off the picture here. And
But you had the same thing with the disciples.
Yeah.
They were like, even a year's wage wouldn't buy enough bread for each person to have just one little morsel. What are you thinking, Jesus? We can't do this.
yeah, it's impossible. So
We tend to forget things he's done for us, miracles. It's weird. It's happened to me many times.
yeah,
And I live like he's not going to do something for me again.
yeah, because down in here in verse 23, when God speaks up, am I limited? It's basically, hey, Moses, have you not been paying attention to what's been happening for the last 2 years? What's going on here? Don't limit me.
It's interesting because one thing guides to another. Like the people, the first problem was that they just was not content anymore with whatever God was providing to them. And God was providing shelter, like against the sun, the heat, against the cold of the night, giving food, give water. And then they are like, oh, I want something else. I'm not happy with just that. So then they asked for meat. And then Moses was influenced by them in the sense like, okay, they want to meet. So what I'm supposed to do? Okay, give meat to them, God said, but how I can do that? But it's like they just, they stopped to pay attention to the blessing that they had God's presence all the time with them, the protection, the daily protection that they can see, and start to pay attention in minimal things like, I want to meet. I want this fruit. I want this. Like they are not focused anymore. What's really matter, and then everything just fall apart.
We're in the desert. We're not getting bit by snakes. Hey, my favorite place to avoid. Let's look down at the answer to this story. Numbers 11, verses 31 to 33. Who's got that for me?
Now the wind went out from the Lord, and it brought quail from the sea and left them fluttering near the camp, about a day's journey on this side and about a day's journey on the other side, all around the camp, and about 2 cubits above the surface of the ground. And the people stayed up all that day, all night, and all the next day, and gathered the quail. He who gathered, least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. And while the meat was still between their teeth, before it was chewed, the wrath of the Lord was aroused against the people, and the Lord struck the people with a very great plague.
Okay. Was God's hand short in what he provided?
No.
A day's journey. How far can you walk in a day? Roughly. Yeah. So let's knock it down a little bit. Let's say 12. 12 miles around the camp.
Funny, we guess Maddie brings plagues.
Yeah. You've got quail flying 3 feet off the ground, easily caught right there. That, oh, run into people for 12 miles. That's a lot of quail.
Can we remind you of that passenger pigeon that we hear at that time?
Or when you go down to the beach and you're watching and you see the birds flying out a half mile or so, and they just keep going and going and going and going and going. But this is a lot of quail. And was it enough for everybody? How much did they collect? A homer is about 5 gallons. If you figure you're going to have this for a month, okay, collect what you need. It's a lot of quail. But in verse 33, what happens?
No refrigeration.
It's all right. He's provided everything else. He can provide food to last. Did that with the manna. What does it say happens in verse 33?
God got mad again and started with the plague.
Is God really mad? Does God get mad?
His anger was aroused. Wrath was aroused.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
For whatever reason.
Why would he said, I'm going to provide this for you for a month. He didn't say he was going to do it for a month. He just said, I'm going to provide enough for you for a month. All at once. Yeah. So why did he get angry? Because they went out and caught what he said they could do. So why did God strike this plague on them?
They must have been murmuring again, maybe.
No?
I think because, I forgot the word I would use, their satisfaction was in just eat and meat. Its luck was not in God anymore. They are like, okay, we want to meet. Okay, God then provide. Oh, wow, we have meat now. Now we are fully happy and everything will be fine. And then they just like forgot God in everything. Like their satisfaction was in the meat, not in God anymore.
It's all about me.
Yeah.
So what does this tell us? What does this part of the story tell us about God?
They'll do that.
Okay. Yeah, he does.
Sometimes he gives us what we ask for, and it's not what we need, but sometimes he does it to teach us.
What did they need?
They needed manna
They needed the manna.
and they created other foods.
Trust in God.
Yeah.
They needed to trust in God.
My version says to those who yielded to pray. And it's sort of, in a way, the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the garden. It was not put there for the children's benefit, but it was put there as a test. It was very specific, this is not what's good for you, but in all fairness, you need to have a choice. Well, I need to have a choice. It's you choosing that is going to bring consequences on you in your life. And the same thing, it talks here about God's wrath, but I think it really was the result of their choosing.
Overabundance of their choosing? Because, yeah, I'm going to provide all this for you, but it was the mob satisfaction here. go out there and gather in, what is it, 10 omers per person?
He didn't trust God to provide the meat continually. He just saw that quail there. They thought, oh, I better gather what I can. So I have to have a month's supply.
Yeah, didn't say that he wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, whereas the manna, they knew.
For 6 days anyway. But yeah.
You're not completely trusting God even when you go to school.
Yeah. Let's look at a new complaining. Let's move into Numbers chapter 12. Somebody read for us verses 1 through 5. Numbers 12, verses 1 through 5.
While they were at Hazeroth, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because he had married a Cushite woman. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he spoken through us too?" But the Lord heard them. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any other person on earth. Verse 5. So immediately the Lord called to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam and said, "Go out to the tabernacle, all three of you." So the three of them went to the tabernacle. Then the Lord descended in the pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance of the tabernacle. "Aaron and Miriam," he called, and they stepped forward.
Okay, so who's complaining now? The leaders.
But it's interesting that it was after a while, because Moses was married before he went to get the people, and then now it's like after everything, like, okay, now we are come down, we are back to normal. So okay, let's find something else to complain about.
Yeah, they complained about Moses' wife.
Yeah.
Up to this point, Moses and Aaron and Miriam family seem to be running the whole show. Moses complained, and what did God do? He said, "Give me 70 elders from the rest of the camp, and I'll put my spirit on them." Miriam and Aaron are watching this take place. Miriam's the oldest one of the three, probably a controlling big sister. But she's complaining and Aaron's complaining. Was it really about Moses' wife that they were complaining?
No, they just wanna like
It's my excuse, yeah. In verse 4, if you were Aaron and Miriam, and God said, "Okay, Moses, Aaron, Miriam, meet me out at the tent," what would you think? The tent of meeting, where things happen. God said, "Meet me out there." What would your first thought be? Yeah, yeah. Meet me out at the shed. Yeah. We're going to deal with this.
Or maybe they were so absorbed in their thoughts that they were like, "Good, God's finally going to speak up for us. God's going to make things right," because Moses has been, taking off in his own direction.
Okay, that's a positive way to look at it. I sure didn't see it that way.
I mean, I'm not saying that they were correct in their thoughts, but they should have been so far along that path that they were like, finally, God's going to speak up. He's going to resolve this because, Moses is sort of off the deep end. He's, we're here and he's not recognizing that we're doing this.
Yeah, God's not allowing us to help him. Now he is. Okay. Okay, so now we've got, if we look at the story that way, now we've got all three of them in trouble. Which is fine. Yeah. Okay, let's see what takes place. So let's look at verses 6 through 9. Continue this thought process here. Who's got that?
He said, "Listen to my words. When there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, reveal myself to them in visions. I speak to them in dreams. But this is not true of my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face, clearly and not in riddles. He sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Isn't 8?
9 also.
Then the anger of the Lord burned against them, and he left them.
Okay. I treat Moses this way, and why would you speak up against him? Yeah, I get a little nervous right about now. What's the process going on here? Why is God being so pointed in verse 8? No, I talk with him face to face. I don't give him riddles. I tell him things like they are. Why is God telling Miriam and Aaron this information?
Yeah, because he's saying, I choose him. You're complaining against Moses, and who put you in charge? I'm saying I put him in charge. I'm God. I put him. So just respect my
Respect my choices. Yeah.
respect my
Okay.
choices. Yeah.
Good way to look at that.
I think they're murmuring against God mostly because they're complaining about the food and leadership and everything. So, right? They're complaining about God, about the whole plan, about God about Egypt and everything.
Yeah, and we're only 2 years into this, you know.
Yeah, and the fact that they are complaining about Moses' wife, it was like, okay, who are you to lead us since you even married a Jewish woman, an Israelite woman? You married an
A Cushite.
outsider. Yeah. And then they are saying to God, you choose someone that doesn't even obey your laws by marrying to somebody else? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Double questioning God.
Yeah.
What happens in verse 10?
And when the cloud departed from above the tabernacle, suddenly Miriam became leprous, as white as snow. Then Aaron turned toward Miriam, and there she was, a leper.
I'm so sure at that point, he didn't turn white too. Whoa.
I imagine he rolled up his sleeves to look, you know, am I next? Why Miriam? Why do you think that?
The eldest judging.
Yeah, I think she had that influence over Aaron for one thing.
Okay. Well, I can go along with that.
Also, Aaron was a high priest.
If he would have gotten leprosy, he would have no longer been high priest. Then we would have a whole different story needing to take place. So this hit Miriam. How did how did Aaron react in verse 11?
Do not lay the sin on us, which we have done foolishly, and which we have sinned. So that's why I said before, they may have foolishly been going with, the temple going, okay, things are finally going to be resolved, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, we're on the wrong side. Our brother wasn't sinning. We need to, it's sort of like David, when the prophet comes to him and tells him the story, and he's like, well, who is this? This is horrible. The prophet says, well, you're that person.
Who did Aaron apologize to?
Lord.
What it says in verse 11?
Moses.
Complaint. He apologized to Moses. He didn't apologize to God. Why would he apologize to his brother and not God?
Yeah, because I think in Aaron's vision, I think I see Aaron more like a little weak personality because of everything that happened. Like he's influenced too easily. Like he just go with the flow too easy. And then I think that
I want people to like me.
God, like after God talked with him and Miriam and said all those things, he was like, okay, I must say sorry for Moses, because if I say sorry for Moses, it'll be the same thing to say to God, because I see that Moses is his precious little thing. So I think he's more like, he didn't think I just apologize to God or ask for forgiveness to God. Like he is as priest, he asked Moses, like, just pray for her and then he revealed that he could do that. He was the priest.
He complained to God, but he was complaining about his brother. So therefore, I'm going to apologize to my brother. So what does this part of the story tell us about God? They complained, God spoke, God acted. What does it tell us about God?
I think the leprosy was a way to for God to really make sense to Miriam what she had been done. Because I think like when my kids do something wrong, I just tell them, okay, you did this, apologize to your sister because of this or that. But when I make them pay for something, okay, you're not gonna play with this toy, or we are not going to somewhere, then they realize what they have done. Like when you have like a punishment, you're like, oh, that's serious.
Yeah. If you were a leper, what did that make you?
Outcast.
Outcast and what? Unclean. So you're an unclean outcast.
Basically, in those days, the death sentence too.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think he was trying to teach them a lesson, also that teach them that there's consequences, but at the same time, he's trying to make them go through experiences to where they could actually finally trust him. Because they're questioning everything he's doing, his leadership, everything. First Corinthians 10 says that was an example for them, but then verse 13 says that
For us.
gives somebody something that they can handle. So that tells me that Moses could have handled the whole leadership thing, but he was probably overwhelmed by the bickering and brother, sister, and everybody else, that he probably got overwhelmed too and kind of cracked. But it's probably because he kept on listening to them instead of God also.
Yeah.
Well, and his punishment fit the crimes. They were critical that she was of another race, probably a darker skinned woman. And so God struck her with leprosy. Now, how do you like that? You know, being
You went white? Okay.
outcast for your, outcast for your,
Okay, let's see if we can wind this thing down. Turn to Numbers 13 and verses 27 through 33.
Thus they told him and said, we eat in the land where you sent us, and it certainly does flow with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who live in the land are strong, the cities are fortified and very large, and moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. Amalek is living in the land of Negev, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites are living in the hill country. The Canaanites are living by the sea and by the side of the Jordan. And Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, we should by all means go up and take possession of it. We will surely overcome it. But the men who had gone up with them said, verily will go up against the people, for they are too strong for us. So they gave out to the sons of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone is spying it out, the land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. There also we saw Nephilim, the sons of Anak, a part of Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight,
And so we were in their sight.
Okay. Got the 12 spies that went into the land and checked it out. Was it a good land? According to the report?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the bad report. What was in that bad report?
Giants.
Giants. Caleb and Joshua, in verse 30, basically said, let's go. We can do this. The other 10 said, no, we can't. Who was right? Were the 10 right? Or wrong, rather?
They're both right.
They're both right. They couldn't do it by themselves. But what did God say that he was going to do when they left Egypt? I'm going to take you to a new land, and I'm going to give it to you. Didn't say you're going to have to go in there and you are going to have to fight them. But that's what they assumed that they were going to have to do. So, we are not able to go up against these people. They're too strong for us. Yes, that's true. They were. It was a good land. Let's go. We can do this. Yeah, they could. But what did the people respond? We want to go back to Egypt. We should have died rather than come here and be killed. Our wives and our children are going to be slaves. Let's go back to Egypt. Let's find a new leader. Who are they rejecting again? God. How did God react in Numbers 14, verses 22 and 23?
Because all these men who have seen my glory and the signs which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have put me to the test now these 10 times, and have not heeded my voice, they certainly shall not see the land of which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who rejected me see it.
What happened?
They were fearing.
Be careful what you ask for. Again. They got it again, didn't they?
I noticed.
I guess that included most of them.
Yeah.
Well, he had a problem too, yeah.
Noticed a pattern in these two last stories that we are looking at. In Miriam's case, the Bible says that she got leper and she was away from the camp for 7 days. So she held back everybody for 7 days. In this story, the people are not obeying God and they are not going to enter the land for 40 years. So the pattern here is that when we don't trust God, we're not only damaging ourselves, but we may be damaging other generations after us and holding blessings that God has in store for us.
So let's put this, like you have done, a little bit more close to home. In our church. What happens when we have murmuring within our church and we just let it keep on going? What's that do to the rest of us? Elevate us?
We all pay the consequence.
We all pay the consequence. Unless we let God take over. The memory verse that we had this morning is that these are 4 examples to warn us, to teach us, to instruct us, so that we won't make the same mistakes that they did. 1 Corinthians 10:11. Underline that, circle it, put a bookmark there, do something. Because what is in the rest of this book is there for us to learn from.
Okay.
And it's also in there so that we can know who God is. What does this tell us about God? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, the stories that we have read this morning were ominous. Complaining and complaining and complaining. You gave them what they wanted, but it wasn't what they needed. You have promised to give us what we need. And you've also promised to give us what we want. Help us to know what you want for us, so that what we ask for, we can get, and it will be for our supply. Help us to trust you, because in trusting you, we will be satisfied. In your name, amen. Thank you for your discussion. You guys are good.